Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for finally another match preview ahead of a Chelsea game. 2 weeks without Chelsea games. It was the worst 2 weeks of my bloody life. It was awful. What is this? Winter breaks in the Premier League? Cheers. Nah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a fan. I mean, I get it. It's great for the players and all, but what was I supposed to do for the last 2 weeks? Do you know what I mean? Especially, it was the transfer window, but we didn't do anything. So, that was a bit boring. But thankfully, we're back. It's a bit of a downer. No offense to Plymouth Argyle, no offense to the FA Cup. But, it would be a bit more exciting if we played someone better than Plymouth Argyle. But, fair play, big pie face. So, maybe he turns up to Stamford Bridge and that's going to be fun. I don't know. But I'm just glad to be back. I'm glad to be back discussing Chelsea Football Club. There are a few things to discuss. Obviously, the past transfer window, which we've discussed before. But obviously, Thomas Tuchel's comments about it in today's press conference. Reece James, unfortunate setback in his recovery back to fitness. But we'll talk about all of these things later on. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by three very special guests. Clutch has returned after 2-stream hiatus, I think it was. Last time he was unfortunately unavailable, and the one before that was obviously with Nathan. So I was like, let me not cluster and let's get as many questions as we can possibly get in there. So Clutch, thank you for being back. How you been, mate?
Bit bored, actually. I mean, me and my affinity for Pulisic, watching him in the United States games. That's been pretty much the only thing I've been watching other than the American football, which has been pretty exciting because it's getting ready to be the championship game 2 weeks away. But other than that, I mean, I'm ready for Chelsea to come back tomorrow. It always seems a bit stale when Chelsea's not around because, I mean, that's one of the main teams I watch. I mean, I don't really watch too much other stuff. Like when
there was nothing else on anyway. Like it was.
Yeah. I could watch AFCON, and I know AFCON's having some good games.
AFCON was on, to be fair, but AFCON. I mean, I'm not sure if any of you have seen any of the African Cup of Nations, but these they are absolutely mental. Like, what a mental tournament that is. Like, second minute of the whole tournament, one of the worst tackles I've ever seen in football. Like, just literally tried to kill the guy. Then you see a referee trying to blow the whistle at 85 and 89 minutes, even though he gave 6 minutes of injury time. What is going on? And then the penalty shootout last night between Egypt and Cameroon. Cameroon with one of the worst penalty shootout performances I've ever seen by anyone. So, that was a bit of a stinker. But fair play, Clutch. Thank you for reminding me AFCON was on. I didn't even watch some of it. But, that is kind of it. Let me go to you, Charlie. It's also been a hot minute since you were last on, so thank you for coming back on. Obviously, we were talking just before off air as well. We were all a bit bored in the last 2 weeks, but at least we're back now. You excited for the FA Cup? You're going tomorrow, aren't you?
Yeah, good to be back, mate. Thanks for having me as always. Yeah, I'm off back down to Bridge tomorrow, so that'll be a nice thing. FA Cup, yeah. I mean, ultimately, you probably would like a slightly better team, but I guess, we want to try and make it third time lucky after back-to-back final defeats in this competition. So I guess the easier run to the latter stages, I suppose, the better. Can't complain too much. And it's nice to be back, with a busy month ahead. We've obviously got this game, Club World Cup next week, Champions League's back as well. We've got the League Cup final. We're playing in 5 competitions this month. So, yeah, it's been a boring 2 weeks, but we're back with a bang with loads to play for. And by the end of this month, we could have another 2 trophies in the cabinet.
Wouldn't that be lovely? Wouldn't that be lovely? While on the other hand, like Charlie just said, we're in 5 competitions. Arsenal in the same period are in 1 competition. So big up yourself. Biggest club in London in that. Con, thank you for coming as always, my bro. How you been? As bored as others, or have you found yourself some things to do?
Do you know what? I wasn't actually that bored. I thought the break from football was all right, I think I kind of needed it because I was just getting so annoyed with Chelsea, so frustrated, I was just like, it's been a good, couple of weeks, it's just been chilled. Don't have to worry about my team underperforming in games they should be performing in. Don't have to worry about after games, people shouting at this player, X player. So it's been kind of chilled, just be relaxing, bro. Let him get my blood pressure as low down as possible because it's going to rise, no doubt, in the coming weeks. So.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. For me, just one week without a midweek game would do, though. I don't need 1 week, no midweek, then no weekend game, and then another week without midweek game. That's a bit much for me personally. But I hear what you're saying, to be fair. I hear what you're saying. Let's get into talking about the thick and juicy. Is that the word? Probably not. I just made it up, but there you go. Thomas Tuchel in his press conference today in front of his lovely Emirates FA Cup background in his press conference, which ruins everything. Makes me feel like I'm watching an Arsenal press conference. Why is that happening? But anyway, here we are. Talking about the transfers. Obviously, you were here, Clutch. Not Clutch. You were here, Con, when we spoke about the whole transfer debacle, or not whatever you feel about it, I suppose. But Clutch and Charlie were not. So let me actually quickly get your boys' thoughts on the fact that we didn't sign anybody. Because Thomas Tuchel, in his press conference today, said it as clearly as he's essentially happy, or he's at least fine with not having signed anybody. Obviously, let's not take every single word he says for absolute fact, because obviously the guy's talking to the media. Even if he was unhappy, would he really say that publicly? He's not Antonio Conte, so chances are he wouldn't. So who knows what really is the truth? But fact of the matter is that he said, yeah, we tried some things, didn't quite happen. And then we were like, yeah, let's just stay with what we've got. He also found some praising words for Kennedy, of all people, who got a squad number and was registered for the Premier League squad for the rest of the season. So, Charlie, I'll go with you first. Thoughts on the fact that we didn't sign anybody? Obviously, Ben Chilwell's still out for the rest of the season, but Reece James at least nearing return from injury. Obviously, we'll get into a bit more detail about Reece's recovery in a second. But in general, just not signing anybody frustrating for you, or not that big a deal?
Do you know what? Like, in the first sort of 10 days, couple of weeks, I was pretty pissed that nothing seems to be happening. You see linked with monitoring, all that sort of stuff, and nothing really concrete. But as the kind of the days and the weeks went by, the end of the window come near, I think I'm actually not too annoyed about it anymore. I think that we need to move past the stage of constantly bringing in players that aren't good enough for the club, and just then having them stuck on massive contracts and we can't get rid of them. We still, like, Drinkwater's contract's expiring this summer. It would have been here for 5 years. Ross Barkley's been here 4 years. God knows how long Batshuayi's been here. Bakayoko. Like, we don't need to be doing more of this stuff, bringing in average football players for big money and having them on big wages, and then we can't get rid of them. So in that respect, if we couldn't get who we wanted, I'm actually pleased that we haven't just bought someone for the sake of buying someone. Now, you could argue that had we been more in the title race, say we were 3 to 5 points off the pace, then that might have changed the thinking. But the fact that we haven't, look, let's be honest, yes, we're mathematically still in the league. The league's not going to happen for us if we're being realistic. But you look at it and you think, right, okay, League Cup, we're in the final. Could win that. Won Super Cup already. Got Club World Cup, which we should win. And then FA Cup, who knows what will happen, and who knows what will happen in the Champions League. So I think the squad we've got is good enough to win some cup competitions this season for sure. So I've got to be honest, mate, I'm not that disappointed. I mean, I'll be disappointed if we get to the summer and, having not spent any money in January, that there's not heavy backing for Tuchel in the summer window. Then I'll reserve judgment until then. But on the face of it, I'm not actually that disappointed that nothing happens.
There you go. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, really, because I mean, what for me was the confusing thing for a lot of the criticism that some people had for it was, in my opinion, the criticism of certain people contradicted itself a lot, because on the one hand, they were saying, fix up and don't sign shit players anymore, essentially, like the Alonso's, like the Emersons. It's not just I like Emerson. The fact that he's barely played in his whole spell at Chelsea and now he's loaned out and we tried to get him back and even that failed. Essentially a shit signing, right? The same goes for, obviously, the players you mentioned, Drinkwater's, Barkley's, and countless more, unfortunately. They're saying don't sign any of those, but when, the board were like, okay, we're not getting the targets that we wanted, which in this case was Emerson, according to most big sources. Also, Thomas Tuchel's target was Emerson. We couldn't get that. And then rather than people being, like you just said, happy that, okay, if the one target we wanted didn't come, instead we didn't sign a shit player for once. In my opinion, it's a good thing. I don't understand how people can complain about both. You have to pick. You can't be annoyed at both. You have to pick which one to be annoyed at during a January window, at least in my opinion, because that's the problem. Like, I mean, Thomas Tuchel hinted at that in the press conference today as well. Like, basically saying with the level of quality that we need to strengthen a squad that's as good as ours, even when we're missing players, needs to be of a high level. We can't just sign some random championship player, some random bottom of the Premier League player. Sure, there would have been players out there which we could have got, like a Digne, like, I don't know, if we tried, we potentially could have got Kieran Trippier. I don't know. But there were certainly options out there. But if the manager decides that's not who he wants, I'd rather we didn't sign anybody than sign someone that the manager didn't want, or another, like I've just said, Bakayoko, Barkley, Drinkwater, Alonso. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's a tough one. What Clutch has just told me here, but I'm not quite sure yet. Let me just ask because Pice is feeling slightly unwell, which is why he's not here today. So let me just quickly ask him whether this dude is reliable, because what Pice tweeted is breaking. Antonio Rudiger rejects new contract worth closer to £200,000 a week. Both parties are open to more communication, and Chelsea are hopeful they can still strike an agreement with the defender via Sam Mokbel. Not sure who Sam Mokbel is, or Sammy Mokbel. So I don't know whether he's reliable or not. I've asked Pice. Let's see what he says, because Pice knows about these things. Pice said very. So, yeah, I would really love to know how much closer to 200,000 we're talking here. But hey, if Chelsea are confident they can strike a deal, that is all I really want to hear. Whether Rudiger agrees to the first new offer or not doesn't really matter all that much to me. But let me go to you, Clutch, to finish off this talk about lack of transfers, if you will. Obviously, not just doing wing-back position. You could argue that there was a shout for potentially Ousmane Dembele, even though no one's really aware right now. Does he have a pre-agreement with PSG for the summer? Because the Athletic also said he kind of has not a pre-agreement, but we set the foundations for a potential summer move. So who knows what the situation with that is, but no signings. Particularly aggrieved about it, Clutch, or in hindsight, you're like, well, rather no one than someone shit, but I still would have liked a couple of players, if that makes sense.
I think I agree more on Charlie's side. I was listening to your guys' last stream when Con was talking. I think my biggest problem is, yes, the January window, you're not really going to sign anybody reliable that's going to basically be the guy to take you to the next level. So in that respect, you don't want to go and buy some stopgap that it's going to be hard to sell. So I understand from that point of view. But then there's the other one where Con was talking about, we don't even have, people on the radar for, especially Ben Chilwell's position. That's the part that's going to scare me the most, because, yes, we're going to be going into the rest of the season with Alonso, Kennedy, Sarr, so on and so forth, playing left wing back or left back, whatever formation we seem to choose. And do I think they're good enough for Champions League to win it? Not necessarily, but, you have, the Premier League's done, so what we're doing for now is just trying to keep that top 4 position. So at that point, do I think that we have the ability to keep top 4 with the players we have? Yes. I think Thomas was a good enough manager to make do with what he has to get us trophies? Yeah, so in that sense, I agree, but I think the thing that we're kind of bottlenecking ourselves into, which is in the summer, we're going to have to spend a lot of money. We're going to have a lot of positions that we're going to have to cover. Left back, maybe an attacker, center backs, depending on how many leave, depending on what formation we want to do. We still got Rice and Tchouaméni, who, by all accounts, are the 2 players that we're going to go after the hardest, along with Koundé.
I had an interesting chat with your expert, by the way, this morning, just on WhatsApp, just having an interesting chat, what he thought about Tchouaméni and Rice. We'll talk about that in another stream, but just you reminded me of a very interesting few things that I found out there. But when you don't just listen to very biased Chelsea fans and giving their opinion on certain players, because you can't have a normal conversation about Declan Rice with Chelsea fans, because they will either shout at you he's shit, or they will either shout at you he's literally the greatest thing, not since sliced bread, since before sliced bread. So, you can't have a normal conversation. So that was quite interesting. But sorry, Clutch, I cut you off there. Go on.
But yeah, I think we're looking at a lot of money to spend in the summer. And I'm not in the back room. I don't know the financials. I don't know how much we're going to need or how much we have to spend. But, it seems like we're going to start forcing our way to some of these players that we're going to look at are the players out of contracts, i.e., Sula from Bayern, who I want 0 to do with. Maybe a Dembele, who I have reservations about because various other things that I've talked about on here before. It seems like we're going to not be able to buy the players that we're going to necessarily need, and then we're going to go to pretty much free agencies to kind of fill these gaps, and that's the part that kind of scares me. But not signing anybody, I'm not too pressed about it. I do have faith that Thomas Tuchel has all the tools he needs to win us trophies within this club this year.
Win us trophies. I bloody hope he wins the Club World Cup, because I can't be having another failure of that, please. But yeah, obviously myself. I go to you, Con. Now that you've had the, let's say, the benefit of hindsight, obviously now that it's been a couple of days since deadline day, has your opinion slightly changed? Because obviously what we discussed and what you in a way agreed, even though you were still annoyed about the fact that we didn't sign anybody, what you in a way agreed with is that chances are whoever we would have signed wouldn't have been good enough for us to retain the Champions League or catch up Man City in the Premier League. So at that point, it doesn't really matter. But I will still say I'm still not particularly confident we're going to retain the Champions League. But was I? It's weird because we won it. But I mean, obviously, I'll ask you first, Con. But I'm intrigued about all your thoughts. Did you, at the start of the season, did you think, yeah, we're going to win the Champions League again? Because I didn't. Like, the only one team has ever done that. Like, I don't know. I didn't really think it was going to be us that was the second team ever to retain the Champions League. So for me, it's a tough one. But changed your mind at all about the lack of transfers, or still on the same thoughts?
I'm still frustrated about the left wing back. I think the club had enough time to find a solution there. For a club like Chelsea stature, they had enough time, but it is what it is. We have to move on. Tuchel said today that he's happy. There was a calm window, and that's the important thing, to stay calm. Whether you believe that from him or not, it's up to you to believe, you know. Kennedy, Sarr, Alonso as options there. It's not great. My expectations was never winning the Champions League again this season because it's a hard thing to do, you know.
Yeah.
But now, yeah, I definitely don't think we're going to win it with this left back issue we have. Because if you look at our Champions League games last season, Chilwell was amazing in those. You know, the Porto game comes to mind. Even against Man City, it was fantastic. Yeah. It's just too much of a down in quality. But it is what it is. If we can push the top 4 this season, that's not in the bag yet either. You know. But then again, I don't really rate Arsenal, Tottenham, or United to give us much of a challenge to push us out. So, and then maybe get a Club World Cup, a League Cup, maybe even an FA Cup. You know, it's probably a successful season, and then do it properly in the summer. You know, if you didn't get anything for us this January,
if we win a quadruple this season officially, like Super Cup, Club World Cup, Carabao Cup, and FA Cup, and everyone's here like, oh, we haven't signed anyone. Oh my days, you know what I mean?
Bro, we'd be too OP at like cup competitions, bro. We'd be too OP at cup competitions. But
yeah, just
you know, as long as
who cares? We just win every other game.
I'd take that, to be fair. But as long as things are done in the summer properly, bro, like we look at good targets, you know, ones that fit this team. We get players out, we get players in, we do it smartly. I think everybody will forget this January, you know, including Tuchel. So we have to move on for it, man, because there's no point in complaining about the same thing every day, is there?
There you go. Couldn't agree more. We just have to move on, and we have to hope that Malang Sarr turns into the greatest left back the world has ever seen. Yeah, that'd be nice. Imagine how much money we could get for Malang Sarr if he has a great rest of the season. That'd be brilliant. But let's quickly move on to a slightly more negative topic. Reece James. The information that Thomas Tuchel gave us, obviously a couple of weeks ago, we heard that he will be back in time for the Club World Cup. This has unfortunately today been negated by Thomas Tuchel. He will not travel to Abu Dhabi with the team, interestingly enough, straight after the game tomorrow, as far as I'm aware. At least he said tomorrow, so I presume straight after, otherwise pointless. But unfortunately, that didn't happen, and the reason for it was that he caught the flu. Not the Rona, just the normal flu. But that obviously stopped him from... That obviously stopped him from continuing his recovery, and that's the reason why he's not quite yet in team training. But still, from the sounds of things, he shouldn't be far out. And if I'm being perfectly honest, as much as Palmeiras aren't the bad team, and obviously no teams from South America or anywhere should be underestimated, whether we have Reece James or not, we should be winning that Club World Cup. So, I just hope he's back for after, and as long as we have him back in time for the Cup final, it's all good for me, if I'm being totally honest with you. But, Charlie, I have a random question for you right now. I see that behind you. What is in that picture frame? Is that a normal picture or is that a shirt?
No, the picture frame is just it's a signed photo. It's basically from 2004-05, the first first title in 50 years. It's a signed picture just like JT, Good Johnson, and a few others lifting the trophy.
Very nice. The reason why I asked you this because I would like to replace my ugly ass flag here that's wrinkled as hell, but obviously you can't bloody iron a flag because it would just burn. I would actually like to hang up like my Hubbard shirt from the Champions League final.
Yeah, I've also got one of them as well.
But you know what I don't know, and I don't know anyone that knows the answer to this. Do I have to find a place that gets shirts framed, or do I just buy a frame and frame it myself?
Oh mate, I think it's quite. I don't know a lot about it, but I think it's quite specialist. Like, I don't think it's a case of just buying a frame and just chucking the shirt in. Because when you see like framed shirts, it looks like it's been done properly, doesn't it?
That's what I'm thinking.
And like the way it's folded.
I've never heard of a place where to do this. I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah, mate, I'm not sure. I don't know.
There you go. See, I thought I'd just get Charlie's help in, but no. He just has a wonderful signed picture from 2004-5. But a bit jealous of that. It's a sick picture to have. But Charlie, as I'm on you already, any reaction to Reece James obviously being out for a bit longer? Not the biggest deal now with the next few games that we have coming up, is it? Would be a bigger problem if, say, next week we played already the cup final.
Yeah, for me, not, as you say, not a big deal. If the Champions League was next week and then the cup final was like a few days after that or something, then yeah, maybe it's a little bit more of an issue. But the fact we've got Plymouth, he wasn't going to play whether he was fit anyway. He wouldn't have played in this game. Club World Cup, he might have played, but no disrespect to the teams involved. Like, we shouldn't be having any problems against them. And whether, as you said, whether Reece James plays or not in those two games, is not really going to negatively impact the result. So as long as he's kind of back in the mix for when the Champions League kicks off again and the cup final, then like, this news is not that big a deal as far as I'm concerned.
There you go. Clutch, similar thoughts on the Reece James situation?
Yeah, I'm not too worried. Would I have liked him to be back so he can get a little bit of minutes? Because, I mean, we're not just going to throw him back in there after being gone for a month and a half, 2 months. I'd like him to get some minutes before a lot of that, but, I mean, there's still plenty of time before the final and Champions League, so I'm not too pressed about it. I think we can get it done without him.
There you go. And Con, you as well about Reece James?
Sorry, what was that, bro? I was on my phone. My apologies.
all good. Yeah, just the fact that Reece James obviously is taking a bit longer to come back, but like I said, it's not the biggest problem now, is it? With the next few games that we have coming up, we can like give him another 2 weeks or whatever if necessary.
No, yeah, of course. You know, like, the Plymouth's next. I don't think we need Reece James for that. If we do, we're kind of screwed. The Club World Cup, it'd been nice to see Reece get some minutes there, but like you said earlier, we should be winning that regardless of Reece. So as long as he's back for after, I'll be happy.
There you go. But some positive news in terms of injuries as well. A few players have returns, obviously, from injury. Those being Trevor Chalobah and Andreas Christensen. Unfortunately, Ruben Loftus-Cheek is out with some injury. No idea what that injury is or when he sustained it, but he's out with some injury. And obviously, Ben Chilwell is still out. And the other two players that are unavailable or will not be used, at least, whether they are available or not, different debate, I suppose. But against Plymouth, they will not be used. They're both Thiago Silva and Christian Pulisic, because obviously on the side of the world of the Americas, Club World Cup. No, not Club World Cup. World Cup qualifiers to some extent, at least in North America. Not quite sure what game South Americans played, because as far as I'm aware, Brazil is already qualified. They were playing qualifiers. So, yeah, they were on international duty. They're obviously just coming back yesterday or today, but they're not going to be involved. But, yeah, I suppose that is that. But one thing I wanted to highlight, just because before we move on, because we were just still kind of talking about the kind of transfers or lack thereof, something that myself, Con, and Alex, your expert, discussed for a little minute last time, was the fact that we are, made such big losses. And in reaction to that, after the stream, Pi sent me this link to take a little look at the Premier League clubs' operating profit / losses in, obviously, sterling pound. And let me just check whether you can all see this on screen yet. Yes, you can. There you go. I hope it's big enough for everyone to read everything. But as you can see, Chelsea are all the way down at the bottom there. Although it is a slightly skewed list, because some of these numbers are from 1920, some of them are from 2021. Why on earth is Everton the featured club? Not really sure what's going on here. But what I can tell you is that Chelsea are bottom of this list with £159 million deficit or loss. Even another 15 million more than the next worst club. So it does make you think, really. But my question is, and I'll ask you to you, Con, because obviously you were the one that kind of initially brought it up in the last conversation in reaction to Sportswire's video. Big up Sportswire, by the way. I'm not sure if you've seen the chat today yet, but we will definitely have him on in the future again on the stream. But you know what I don't understand? We spent 100 million last year. And I get the whole, we didn't furlough any staff and stuff, but not every club did. So that can't be the only explanation. And I get there's a lot of businesses involved with it, but some of these businesses, like, for example, the underground bar or club at Stamford Bridge, yes, that is a business, but whether that's open or not or furloughed or not is not going to cause the biggest spike in losses at Chelsea Football Club in the grand scheme of things, right? So because we finished top 4, so we had a reasonable Premier League, prize money. We won the Champions League, which has very big prize money. Obviously, the biggest prize money you get for qualifying, but still, you get good amounts of money for winning the whole thing. And obviously, we have big deals from 3. We got a new sponsor in Trivago on our training kits. We have obviously the Nike deal, which still goes on. So I don't really understand how when we spent just 100 million this summer, plus sold players in excess of the money that we spent on Lukaku, I'm not quite sure where this 159 million pounds deficit or loss managed to come from. I mean, Con, you obviously brought it up. I'm not expecting you to necessarily know, but do you have an idea where on earth this is from? Because honestly, I don't get it. Like, we should have enough prize money winnings, and we sold enough players that we shouldn't be in this much of a loss.
No, it doesn't really make much sense when you think about Chelsea are on course to have a record-breaking year in terms of revenue, you know? So it really don't make much sense. But I think things we have to take into account is I think we have the second highest wage bill in the Prem after United, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Obviously, through the times of not having tickets because there weren't fans at the grounds during that season, I know it's not much of a problem this season, but I don't know, man. I'm not an accountant, so I can't really tell you. But from what I just read and I looked at myself, there's a lot of companies under Chelsea. Despite just the football club itself, there's so many that I didn't even realise. There's tons and tons of them. And if none of those staff got furloughed and stuff like that, that's a lot of wages you're paying out and no business coming in, you know. So it don't really make much sense.
But if you think about it, like, how many lockdowns did the UK have in 2021?
At this point,
I guess this is for the 2020-2021 season. But now I get it. I'm an idiot. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, this is, as we can see on here, if I just read the bloody chart properly, this is for the 2020/2021 season, in which we won the Champions League, obviously, but we only received the money not straight after. So I guess for this year, our profit will be lovely. So that's why, in my opinion, I'll go back to being absolutely not really worried about this, because I think our 21-22 season will make up for these losses, because obviously the way the financial year runs is, I think, from June to June, right? Or is it April? Regardless what it is, right? I think we'll make up for it. I think we'll be absolutely fine. But obviously, these numbers are flying out there. So, Clutch, much of a reaction to it? Obviously, if you don't want to add too much, we'll move on.
I don't know too much about this side of it, unfortunately. But, I mean, I think it would make a lot of sense. I feel like that was only the 2021, how much money we spent in that time.
I mean, it does say it down here, so.
Yeah. So, it makes sense that, I mean, we spent 70 million on Havertz at that time in the beginning of the season. I think.
We spent 250 million that summer.
Yeah, what was it? Half the year we didn't have fans in the stadium. So,
yeah,
and that's a huge part of revenue. I know that. I know they were trying to hike up prices for the viewing for each Premier League game or whatever it was. 15 years, I don't remember. I remember them having that big debacle or whatever. But I mean, it makes sense. But do I think we'll recover? Yes. I think that's why I don't really know where we're at with our financial standing for the summer. But it makes sense, to be fair.
It does. What made me actually realise this whole thing down there was EE's comment in the chat here saying, no, not that. USA CFC's comment in the chat was saying, does the stadium renovation play into the deficit? Obviously, we didn't do a proper stadium renovation. We just renovated the West Upper, which is now ultra fancy, not allowed to go with tracksuits anymore. So brilliant. All right. Fair enough then. But as far as I'm aware, because this was 2020 to 2021 deficit, no, because I think this only happened, maybe it happened in the second half of 2021, this renovation. I'm not quite sure. But obviously they finalized in the second half of 2021. So I'm not sure quite how long this renovation took, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But Charlie, much of a reaction at all to what you can see on screen, or not really?
Nah, not really, mate. Numbers, not really my strong point. But yeah, as you say, it would make sense, given the fact that if that's recorded when not all the Champions League money had come in, then you'd expect a small deficit. But at the end of the day, as long as we've got a sizable amount of money to spend in the summer, I'm not really that asked about how much money the club's losing, unless it's ridiculous amounts. So yeah, I don't think there's anything to be too concerned about on that front.
There you go. Like I said, I mean, I honestly, when I saw it, I didn't pay enough attention to realize, but obviously talking about last season, which makes all the sense in the world, because, I know, and I don't know why I didn't think of it. I know that the numbers for the last financial year are released about 6 months later. So obviously this was for the last season. Obviously we would have big loss in that because we spent 250 million that summer and we didn't win anything. So, I mean, we won the Champions League at the very end of it, but we didn't win anything at the beginning of that. Like, it's sort of, when that financial year starts. So obviously the loss would be quite big. To me, really understandable, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But I would say let's move on. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, big up to yourself, if you're in the chat, get involved. If you're here and watching, you just watch this quietly and don't have anything to say in the chat, say something in the chat, just so I have a clue who's watching. But yeah, if you're here, please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. That'd be massively appreciated. Smash the like button for me as well, as Melinda has said, who's seemingly just in a break from work. But why don't we move on? Let's talk about the FA Cup, because that's what we're playing in tomorrow with a very early kickoff. I swear I can't remember us ever playing an FA Cup game at 12:30 midday. But here we are. That's what we're doing tomorrow. So it's the 5th round, is it not? 4th round? 4th round, my bad. 4th round. Yeah. So Plymouth Argyle, obviously, are they Championship or League One? Does anyone know?
They're League One.
League One, there you go. So we should really be beating them, shouldn't we? Like, if we're being perfectly honest, there's not really much of an excuse to be had here, is there? Charlie, you just replied to that, so why don't I ask you? It's not much there, is there? I mean, yes, like you said, they're in League One. They currently sit on 7th. They are 12 points off top. So, we should be smashing those regardless, right?
Yeah, 100%, but as we've seen in the past, though, you can never go into a match underestimating the opposition, even if they're a few divisions below us. And I think Thomas Tuchel will be exactly the same. I mean, I was at the Chesterfield game in the last round, and I was not expecting that strength of side from Thomas Tuchel against a non-league team. So, I think, he's showing this competition respect. He's showing the opposition respect no matter what level they are. So I'd expect a similarly strong side tomorrow. So, yeah, we shouldn't have too many problems beating these, but we've got to turn up and be at it, because stranger things can happen in football, particularly in the FA Cup. And we've seen it happen to Chelsea before. I remember one year a while back where Bradford dumped us out and they beat us 4-2 at Stamford Bridge. So, it does happen. So, it shouldn't happen tomorrow, because we've got enough quality, and we know it looks like Tuchel's got the lads, in the game. So, yeah, I don't think we'll be taking this lightly, but we've got to be on it, because if you're slightly off it, then this competition does have the ability to serve up a few upsets and a couple of embarrassments if we're not careful.
Without a shadow of a doubt, honestly. But what I will ask you now, and obviously we'll get to the, our actual teams that we would like to see tomorrow in a bit. But because we've now had 2 weeks off, to me, that makes me expect an even bigger, even stronger team that we had against Chesterfield last time out. Because after 2 weeks, as much as you are training, especially if we want to go and win this Club World Cup and not, be the cause of ridicule, I think it's probably best idea if we give these players that we're going to intend to use, quite frequently in the Club World Cup in those 2 games, that we're going to give them a run out beforehand to almost get the sharpness back.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's not ideal circumstances having guys that haven't played for a couple of weeks. Obviously, there's been some international football, but we don't have a lot of South Americans and a lot of Americans in the squad, so it's going to be very minimal minutes for a large amount of the playing squad. So, yeah, you will want to get some minutes in the legs before the Club World Cup final. I mean, we should be getting their fingers crossed. I think the semi-final match is pretty straightforward. It'll be against one of the teams either from Saudi Arabia or one of those Arab Emirates states. It'll be one of those in the semis, which, no disrespect to that level of football, but it's pretty poor compared to our standard that we should be playing. So I think in the semi-final will be an opportunity for guys to get minutes as well. But yeah, I do agree with you, mate. I do think that we'll go pretty strong tomorrow. Whether we'll see everyone, I'm not sure. But again, with 5 subs as well in the cup competitions, I think that's gonna be a big advantage for us as well, so that we can get a lot more players minutes and give players a rest as well if necessary.
There you go. And on this very note, I mean, the timing could literally not have been better. I literally got a notification by the Athletic right this second, even though Clutch told me about it before the stream started already. The option to make 5 substitutions in the match is set to be made permanent by football's lawmakers next month. I mean, I can't click the thing because I kind of would like to know if this will include the Premier League, because everyone else does it already. So, but yeah, that'd be quite good. The Premier League decided against it. You know what, Con? I'll ask you and then I'll read through this whether, I'm missing anything or not. But Plymouth, obviously League One side, expecting us to win. But similar question to what I put to Charlie. Because we had 2 weeks off, do you expect basically our strongest 11, or do you still think there will be a little bit or a few players in there that maybe wouldn't start if this was, say, against Tottenham tomorrow in the Premier League?
I expect a strong side, not the strongest he could field, but a strong side. We've seen Tuchel respect these competitions. Like Chesterfield, look at the lineup Tuchel put out there. Put Lukaku and Werner starting. So I expect to see quite a strong squad. And we have like 7 attackers, man. They don't play often, We've been seeing Ziyech, Mount, and Lukaku playing. So you might see a Kai, a Werner, and someone else, a Pulisic. So actually, I doubt Pulisic because he's played in the national.
Pulisic won't be involved now.
Yeah. So I expect to see a strong side, and maybe we see a few youngsters again. Maybe we see a Harvey Fowl. Maybe we see what's the kid's name who played left centre back?
Lewis Hall.
Yeah, Lewis Hall. Yeah, might see some of those guys. I hope we do because they're talented guys, and I enjoyed watching them last time.
Yeah, in a way I do. In a way, I'm also like, because I've kind of been starved of watching any Chelsea for 2 weeks, I kind of just want, the best players to come back in a way. But I also would like to see Harvey Vale and obviously Lewis Hall and a couple of others, obviously. Just because I figured it out here, I'll read it out, and especially in response to you, Clash, before I let you speak about this matter, and because you brought it up before the stream. It is expected that the temporary dispensation to allow up to 5 changes in a game introduced after the start of the Rona pandemic to help clubs manage fixture congestion will be made a permanent option for competitions worldwide at the International Football Association Sport Annual General Meeting on March 3rd. But it said option. So if the Premier League doesn't want to use 5 subs, they still don't have to. It just means that everyone can if they want to from now on for the future, regardless of a pandemic happening or not. So unfortunately, we still don't necessarily get 5 subs in the Premier League, which I find unfortunate for 2 reasons, by the way. Number one, I think it's bad for players, especially when they're forcing them to play. Like the fact that Pulisic and Thiago Silva only came back in the middle of the night yesterday, it's ridiculous. Like, how on earth are they missing a game, essentially? I mean, yeah, it's the FA Cup, but that's just this time. Usually it's not an FA Cup straight after the international break. How on earth have we come into a situation where it's okay in the world of football that the club that pays the wages of these players needs to let them sit out a game because they had to play 3 international games in international break? And that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ludicrous. That's a thing. Like, the clubs pay the wages. Why on earth would there be 3 international games per break if it stops them from coming back? Because, yes, Asia, South America, North America, it exists. Not everyone plays in Europe and can't just fly over for 2 hours later and be back in England. Then obviously it's no problem. But the world isn't just Europe, right? So I don't understand why we're in this position. But Clutch, obviously reaction to the lack of 5 subs, I suppose, or potential lack of 5 subs. But in general, I'll take it back to Plymouth. And what team you expect in a way.
As for the subs, I think it's ridiculous. I think we need to have it. I mean, it's getting dangerous. I mean, Tuchel today mentioned how these players need breaks. They need time. We can't just keep expecting to go out there and throw out the same 11 and only have 3 subs to change it. Because, I mean, you got to go out there with the strongest team, and sometimes that's consistency. So you can't just keep expecting these guys, especially when I know we hold off 1 sub usually because of injury fears. So I know it's not idea, and it's what honestly is getting people hurt. And the hamstring injuries we are seeing, and we're seeing it a lot more because people are playing a lot more. We have to do something. I know it's not necessarily as fair to the smaller teams that don't have the bigger squads, but that's kind of the point of these squads being better. It's you have the players because that's you're bigger, you money, grassroots, and all that. I mean, it's not fair to the players, to be more specific. As far as the game tomorrow, I think we are going to come with a little bit stronger squad. As much as I hate to say it, I think Lukaku is going to be the guy who's going to start up top because, I mean, as we've seen, he's playing pretty much every game since his
and
dust
posing
up.
in our new Inter shirt, which is fantastic.
Exactly. And I mean, for me, the one player I think I want to see out of everybody is Hakim Ziyech. I think we need to keep him his consistency up. I mean, he's been our best player the last game, so I think we need to give him that run that he deserves.
Fair dues. I will actually just quickly. I also see a couple of people in the chat talking about Chelsea pitch owners and potentially having to move stadiums at some point, or that not being possible because of Chelsea pitch owners. Maybe that should have been a stream I should have done in this break. Didn't think of it. Maybe I should have done. Obviously, it's a bit long of a topic to get into now, but I do quickly want to discuss the 5 subs rule for a minute because, and I'd like to get Condon and Charlie's views on it as well, because from my perspective, and I get that let's say smaller clubs usually say, the the people that are against 5 subs in the Premier League, they're like, well, it's just another big advantage to the bigger clubs. But personally, I don't actually agree with that, because how do smaller, lesser teams play against the big teams? How do they ever stand a chance of winning? By arguably working physically harder, running more, being stronger, this and that. So that would also be easier to achieve for lesser clubs if they have more subs, because they can then bring fresh players on. Yes, they don't have that many good players on the bench, but they don't have any players that are better than our players anyway. So does that really matter? Because the way they get results against bigger teams, better teams in England, is by, working hard. And, bringing a fresh player on, even if he's a little bit worse, as long as you can, is for a smaller team, the fact that he's fresher is more important than the fact that he's a little bit worse, in my opinion. Obviously, it also has benefits to the big teams, but I think it kind of evens itself out. Yeah, we can bring on some more of our star players because we can't fit all of them in an 11, but the lesser teams can bring more fresh legs on, which helps them, see out a draw or whatever, or see out a lead if they took it during the game. So I don't really personally feel much against it. But the big thing I will say, because it's not necessarily, because I've also seen people argue against it in a way that, because we've seen Klopp and Pep and whatever else not make 5 subs when they've had the opportunity. We've even seen Tuchel do that in the Champions League, only make 2 subs when we've had 5, or 3 subs when we've had 5. But I think the big difference is, and why it also plays a big difference in overplaying players, is that if you have 5 subs, it's much easier to give players that come back from injury a few minutes, because it takes them quite a while to get ready to start a game. So, and until they're ready to start a game, you essentially need to play the other players. That's a problem we've had with our midfield often. When it was Kante that was injured, or when it was Kovacic that was injured, whoever wasn't injured had to play no matter what until they were properly back fit. If you have 5 subs, you can bring one of the injured players back a little bit sooner, let them play 10, 15 minutes a little bit sooner, which is much easier to do than if you only have 3 subs. And that isn't just better for the player coming back from injury, but it's better for the player that's already on the pitch and currently being overplayed, because it's easy to sub a few players off. And sometimes even those 10, 15 minutes less can make a big difference in how, strenuous it is. But Charlie, I'll ask you, are you against the 5 subs? Are you pro the 5 subs? Do you see it a big disadvantage for the smaller sides if the big sides have the 5 subs advantage?
Mate, this is the one thing that I just don't understand, why the Premier League have to feel the need to be different. Every single league has 5 substitutions. Every competition has 5 substitutions. But the Premier League decides that, we don't need 5 substitutions. I don't get it. I don't buy into the fact that it's an advantage to the big teams, because, how many times do we see it? You made 3 subs, someone gets injured. You have to play a percentage of a game with 10 men through no fault of your own. So if you had an extra couple of subs, if someone gets injured, you can bring them off, and you've still got your complement of 11 on the pitch, rather than having to suffer with less men. If a goalkeeper gets injured, you've made all 3 subs, you can bring another one on. You don't have to put an outfield player in goal. So I don't get it. I also feel that with 5 subs, you don't have to use them all. It's going to help the bigger teams perhaps a little bit more with playing in more competitions. They can rest players a bit more frequently. But at the end of the day, it's an opportunity for these other clubs to do the same. They can obviously blood some more youngsters that they perhaps might not have been able to with just 3 subs. So yeah, I'm really confused by it. I don't get it at all why it would be a problem having 5 subs in the Premier League. Like, you don't have to use them all. You just have the option there to manage the workload, to manage injuries, to get people back up to match fitness. So yeah, mate, for me, I just don't understand it at all. It's just such an obvious thing to do. I don't see the need to not have it.
No, it's just weird, especially when everyone else does it. I mean, I guess that's what the Premier League love to do, same with the winter break. I mean, but they've come around to that eventually. Even if it's a shorter winter break than everybody else, it's a winter break. But Con, similar thoughts, or do you happen to prefer 3 subs?
No, it should be 5 subs. If everyone else is doing it, why can't we? Like, the clubs in England get paid a lot more than most clubs around Europe, You can finish like 17th in the Premier League and still get paid more than Serie A winners, So I don't get it. Like, reinvest in your clubs. I feel like some Premier League clubs, like your Burnleys, etc., spend the bare minimum just to stay in the Prem, and then you cry that you don't want a 5 sub. Like, you can reinvest that money into the squad. You just choose not to. You just want to do the bare minimum and keep staying and staying. It's stupid. You don't think about players' well-being. If you ask them to play crazy games, like how many games did we play during that December period, man? It was a joke, absolute joke. We had
16.
COVID cases, we had injuries. If we could have had 5 subs, it helps because some of these guys were playing like 90 minutes every 2 or 3 days. That's not healthy, man. That's dangerous.
You say
It's
some of
very
these guys, only
dangerous.
half our squad did that, yeah.
Yeah, it's so dangerous to like keep asking. The body can only take so much, you know. So I don't know. The Premier League, like I think what Charlie said, that we always have to be different, man. Like, why? What's the point? It's just the FA, man. Just idiots, man. It should be 5 subs, and it probably won't be, but it should get changed to that.
Hopefully. I mean, I understand the logic of not changing it during a season. I kind of get that because it, in a way, skews the fairness of the system. But have we already ruined that by the fact that some games were called off for Corona cases and some games weren't? Like, at that point, does it really matter? Do you know what I mean? Just to quickly react to what Fraser keeps talking about here in the chat in terms of Chelsea pitch owners refuse to move out of Stamford Bridge. Club has no plan, blah, blah. No, okay. And Arsenal had no problem. They left Olsen to put a new stadium. Now, they had a lot of problems because they've been shit ever since. So, no, Arsenal have had all the problems in the world because they were literally alongside Man United, by far the best club in England at the time. And ever since then, they all they cheer about is a couple of FA Cups that they win when a referee helps them a bit in the final. So, no, Arsenal have had big problems with the fact that they moved grounds. Not saying it's necessarily because of the grounds, but part of it is because they spent so much money on building the Emirates that for a time, while they couldn't invest enough money to keep up with, the big Donnies at the time, and then no one wants to go to Arsenal anymore, and now they're just a joke, really. But what I still don't know, and I need to do research into this, we had a plan. I remember it so well. I was excited by it. 2015, this like cathedral of football, this like whole like rendered, plan that we had to build Stamford Bridge new in 2015. And it was, like they had a whole event at Stamford Bridge to like let all the members like take a look at it, and everything was going on. And even the Fulham Council agreed to it because Chelsea offered, okay, we're going to rebuild Fulham Broadway Station because that's kind of a back and forth. Okay, you let us build this, but then we will help you build up the infrastructure in the area, right? So we were, even Roman Abramovich was at the time willing to redevelop essentially Fulham Broadway Station just to allow us to increase the capacity of Stamford Bridge. So we had an architectural plan to increase Stamford Bridge to 60,000 seaters, which most people, I presume, are aware. But if you're not, how we managed to do it is build underground, like do the museum underground, do the club shop underground, do like the parking spots for the team buses and the media buses all underground, and build around it. Obviously, we would have had to move, I think, a few things, but I think we got all the agreements we needed at the time. But then obviously Brexit happened, and then Roman Abramovich was refused his visa, and then everything stopped. And because of Brexit, obviously everything got more expensive. So is the only reason that this got more expensive, that's why we're not doing it? Because architecturally it is possible. We just haven't done it yet. So it is possible for us to build the bigger stadium without moving, because it was possible in 2015. They literally had it all planned out. So I have no idea when exactly they stopped the idea, because the reason isn't necessarily that we can't move. But I need to look into it more. I just thought I'd share my feelings quicker. But anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about Plymouth a little bit more tomorrow. Let me quickly get this up on screen. Oh, no, actually, what I wanted to do first, remove this off the screen again. Made a little joke about it already, but we've announced a new little kit, training kit, warm-up kit, whatever it is. Obviously, the whole of football... Yeah, I guess the whole of football is taking a piece out of us, like so. I miss Inter so much. Chelsea say no more. But if we ignore the fact that we made Lukaku his own Inter shirt, it's a nice shirt, is it not, Clutch?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's classic colors for us. I mean, it's kind of bad timing, I guess. Maybe they had this plan for a while, I'm guessing, but it just seems like the mind games. Hey, Lukaku says, yeah, I'm going to come back to Inter. It looks like he came back to Inter in February. But yeah, no, I like it. It's a nice shirt. It's an unfortunate timing in the transition of events that have happened. It makes it so easy.
Use him as the main model for it.
I have no idea. It's funny though.
That's the only part I don't get.
I guess they're kind of using him. It makes sense in the regards like Chelsea are kind of using him as their like star man. So I mean, it makes sense to a degree. I guess the question is how naughty is our PR team? Are they using it just because they're fully aware that people are going to make the Inter jokes, and that's going to cause more traction and therefore get more sales? Or is it another reason? If that's them, that kind of rate it in a way. If that's them, I feel it. do whatever you have to do. I guess the old saying, no press is bad press, I guess.
I guess so. Con, your reaction? Nice kit?
I like it, but of course Nike make us a nice training kit. Where's a nice actual, kit we played?
Nice home shirt. Like, come on.
Where's the last time we had a nice home shirt, man? Nike are criminals, man. They give everyone else such nice kits, and when it's us, man, it's terrible. I'm sick of it. It's nice though. I wish I didn't see it on him because kind of looks like someone else. He's playing for someone else. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Well,
he's always gonna get mean for
playing for someone else. That's the problem.
Yeah. He's always gonna get mean for this, of course.
Yeah.
But it's a cold kit, innit? It's cold. That I like it a lot.
Clutch, I'm close to kicking you out of the stream. You just said you like a home shirt. In my opinion, hey, each to their own. But in my opinion, this is the worst home shirt Chelsea have ever had. And obviously, I've not seen every shirt properly, but I've seen pictures of every shirt since 1905, since the founding of this bloody football club. So, yeah, I think it's the worst shirt we've ever had. But this shirt, Charlie, do you like it? Other than obviously taking a piss that it looks like Inter, but otherwise, pretty good, I suppose.
Oh, mate, I really like it. And as Con was saying, it's criminal how Nike are doing us dirty. They make us better training kits than they do football kits. And that's got to stop, I mean, why couldn't that be the kit this season with instead of Trivago on it? Why couldn't they just have 3 on the front? I mean, or the home kit for next season be like that? They've obviously got like the designers there that can make decent stuff. But when it comes to the Chelsea shirt, a home shirt, those guys must miss the meeting or something. And because we end up with something terrible pretty much most seasons for the home shirt. But I like it. But another thing that's criminal is the price. I mean, come on, 55 quid and football's for the fans. It's 55 quid for a pre-match shirt. Come on. Like, what are we doing? That should be no more than 30 quid. Like, it really shouldn't. But that's a separate point. But, they bring these things out. They look nice.
Well, to be fair, that it's more down to Nike than Chelsea. But
yeah, but it's ripping the fans off at the end of the day, isn't it? I mean, like, it's criminal. 55 quid for that. I mean, there's that Chinese New Year one that they come out the other couple of weeks ago. They're selling in a limited amount. The one they wore before the Tottenham game, the warm-up shirt, that's 45 quid. Like, come on now. This is going to be for the fans. Tickets everything's so expensive at these days. I mean, maybe the club should give a little back. But no, apart from that, I do like it. Having said all that, it is nice.
It is nice. I mean, I am, a bit like Clutches for the home shirt. I am one of those few people. I actually think the 3 sponsorship on the shirt actually looks quite good. I don't hate it. I get because someone said, the horizontal sponsor logos are just much better than just like we have with 3. But I will say this Trivago, the way it says it here on the shirt, looks a bit like the Samsung one, which is probably why it kicks up all the nostalgia in our heads, which is why we like it. I get that. But I personally actually don't mind the 3 sponsorship. Also, without sucking them off too much. But hey, if they want to send me free tickets, I think 3 are a good sponsor. Do you know what I mean? Like, they do things with fans, they get people involved. Do you know what I mean? Like, could definitely be worse if you ask me. I certainly prefer them to Yokohama tires, even though do we not still have Yokohama tires in some things? I don't even know. But let's get into talking about this team. Now I've painted it as a 4-back so far. Obviously, we could potentially change that. My logic for it, why I said 4-back, is what I kind of want to see. Is, well, we know how to play the 3-back and we're playing Plymouth. So any game we can use to improve ourselves in a back 4, use it. That's my idea. So let's get as good as we can in a back 4 because we haven't played it that much. So the more often we play with it, the better we will be in it. That's why we're playing Plymouth. Might as well use it, especially, not every player, depending on what squad we'll use tomorrow, every player has actually played in the back 4 formation. So let's make sure we get everyone involved, is my thinking. In terms of formation, Clutch, back 4 for you tomorrow, back 3 for you. What would you like to see?
Personally, I'd like to go to a back 4. I mean, I've never been keen on the back 3, but if you're asking me what do I think Tuchel's going to do, I somehow think we're going to end up in a back 3 somehow tomorrow.
We'll see, I suppose. Con, what about you? Would you prefer back 3 or back 4 tomorrow?
I don't mind the back 3. I don't know why so many fans dislike it. It won us the Champions League. But each to their own, Clutch, bro. I love you. I want to see the 4-back, though, because, like you said, we need to, as much practice we can with it in games like this, take the opportunity while it's here, because certain players cook in this formation, like my boy Hakim the Dream, so...
And my boy Malang, the whatever rhymes with Malang. All right, you were meant to laugh now, boys. It was a hilarious joke. No, anyway.
Joking.
Obviously, yeah. Main reason why I think back four do that, please, because back four means no Alonso. Back three means Alonso. Well, we've seen Alonso once in the back four as well this season, but at least there is then hope that it's not Alonso. And so far, Malang Sarr hasn't really disappointed me yet. Charlie, what about you? You're usually a big advocate of the back three, but do you see the logic in if we're going to use the back four quite regularly as of now, it makes sense to use a game like this to kind of work on it a bit more, maybe?
Yeah, but to be honest, mate, I'm not that fussed either way. I think the back three, as Con said, I don't understand why there seems to be coming in for a bit of hate. It's served us really well. We are decent in that formation. I do really like the back four. The 4-2-2, as you've got it on screen, I'd almost prefer to have the 4-3-3 that we kind of saw against Tottenham. I thought that was a lot better, and it gets the best out of Hakim Ziyech. You know, as Con says, he's obviously a big fan of him, and I like him as well. And I don't think it's a coincidence at all that as soon as he plays right side of a 4-3-3, the position that he was signed to play in when we signed him under Frank, he actually looks decent. I don't think that's a coincidence. So I thought Callum Hudson-Odoi looked a lot better playing as an out-and-out winger. And particularly at the moment where we've not got width from the wing-backs, because Alonso and Azpilicueta just don't get up and down the pitch and provide width in those attacking areas, I think it's actually very beneficial for us to play two out-and-out wingers to provide that. So, yeah, I really liked it last time. And, you know, even another observation, we could even put Trevor Chalobah in that holding midfield role as well as a potential tomorrow. So tomorrow I would like to see 4-3-3. I prefer the 4-3-3 than the 4-2-2. But at the end of the day, against Plymouth, it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters what formation we play. We should beat them. But yeah, if I was picking a formation with what you've got available, I'd like to see that 4-3-3 given another go.
To be perfectly honest with you, Charlie, kind of forgot. But I'm 1,000,000% agree. Obviously, people will come now, but we played a 4-1-4-1 last game. It's the fucking same thing, people, right? It just depends on what position of the field the wingers are in at this moment in time when you look at it. Whether you call it 4-1-4-1 or 4-3-3, it's the same thing, right? So chill your horses. But I completely and 1,000,000% agree. Obviously, Clutch will probably remember. I can't remember if Con was specifically on this stream, but a few weeks ago, we were speaking about how ideally, ignoring what players we have, if we just had the players to suit every system, what system we'd like to play, this is quite literally what I would like to play. So, yeah, big fan of that, Charlie. The question we have is in goal. All right, what happened here then? Does Kepa play or does Bettinelli play? Because obviously Edouard Mendy, big up to himself, in the Africa Cup of Nations on Sunday, hopefully mugging off Mo Salah and adding another trophy to his wonderful trophy cabinet that is Edouard Mendy's. So hopefully he can achieve that. But do we start Bettinelli because what might as well, or do we go with Kepa? That will be an interesting one because Mendy, maybe not for the semi-final, but for the final of the Club World Cup, I presume Mendy's going to be back and be in goal next weekend if we, touch wood, win the semi-final on Wednesday. So with that in mind, maybe we should just give Kepa another game. Just let him play the next two because then from then on it's Mendy in the goal anyway for the next God knows how long. It's going to be interesting as well if Kepa gets to play the Carabao Cup final or not. That's going to be interesting. But who do I start with? Let me start with you, Con. Tomorrow for you, Kepa or Bettinelli?
I'd want Kepa because Mendy will be coming back soon. And yeah, I just want to keep these good Kepa performers coming in, whether we're going to try to offload him in the summer. Another good performance just increases his stock, even if it is against Plymouth,
There you go. I personally probably would agree. Clutch, for you, Kepa or Bettinelli?
I think it's Kepa all day. I think you only got a couple more games with Kepa. He's been doing really well. There's not going to be really any threat of shots from outside the box, so I think he'll be just fine. And I mean, at this point, last time we seen Bettinelli, it wasn't really that great of a show for him. So Kepa's been really good. Keep it going.
To be fair, Chesterfield had like one chance, and yeah, he did look a bit bad for that, but he didn't really have much to do, I suppose.
Yeah, but you got to do the most with the chances that you get put at you. So
yeah,
I think Kepa and Mendy both saved
that. He hasn't played football in God knows how long for him, so I let him off. I wasn't that mad at him, if I'm honest, but no, I back the Kepa one. I back it. Charlie, for you, would you go with Kepa as well, or would you like to give Bettinelli his second game?
Nah, full house on this one, lads. Kepa for me. I think this is obvious now, isn't it? He's performing to a really high level at the moment. he's not going to have too many more games this season. He might get a few more in the FA Cup, depending on how far we get. He might play a couple. He might play one of the Club World Cup games. Otherwise, it's going to be slim pickings for him. So we need to. I think we give him this game. Bettinelli's had his one game for the club. He should be happy with that. He's third choice for a reason. So, yeah.
Bro, it's making bank for playing one game. Like, I wish I'd be Bettinelli.
But Kepa all day. Bettinelli done all right in his game, but Kepa's, I think it's straightforward.
Fair dues. Let's get to the centre back two then. Now that we've all agreed to go for a back four tomorrow, obviously whether we have done 2 midfielders or 3 midfielders, we'll come to that decision later. But back two, centre back two, I suppose. Interesting. You know what, Charlie? I'll stick with you. Who would be your centre back two for tomorrow? Mind you that Thiago Silva is basically not available.
I'd go Andreas Christensen as one of them, definitely. Mm-hmm. He hasn't played for a while. Obviously, hasn't played for a while. It's been 2 weeks, and then obviously he wasn't involved in a few of the games before the break out with COVID, etc. So I think he needs to get some minutes in the tank. So I'd have him as one of them. The other one's difficult, to be fair, because it's not going to be Thiago Silva. I mean, I'd probably say Trevor Chalobah, but then also, as I mentioned to you earlier, mate, I wouldn't be surprised to see Trevor Chalobah potentially play defensive midfield as well in this game. So it's a difficult one. I mean, maybe Lewis Hall, but I don't know what he'd be like in a back four and like in a two. I know he was decent against Chesterfield on the left.
He's certainly been more suited to playing left back rather than centre back.
So I mean that he'd probably be my pick for left back. So I'll probably go with Chalobah and Christensen, to be honest, as my two.
Fair dues. Let's see what the other boys say. Touch. What do you reckon? Christensen for you as well, but then Chalobah next to him?
No, I think Chalobah, considering we haven't seen him in a while, and when we did see him, he re-injured his injury, his hamstring. But I don't think we're going to throw him back in like that instantaneously. I think it's going to be Christensen and Rudiger.
The problem is now it's different because we had 2 weeks off. So the question is, when would he have been fit otherwise? Because if he's essentially been fit for 10 days now, then play him. But if he's only been fit for 3 days, then don't play him. But we don't know that is the problem, I guess.
I think we'll give him time off the bench. I don't think we'll start him.
So does that mean Rudiger for you then?
Yep, Rudiger.
There you go. Con, what about you? Rudiger, Chalobah, somebody else? I mean, there's not much else to pick from. Except, I suppose, Malang Sarr. If he doesn't start at left back, he could be at centre back.
Just taking wild guesses here. I think the Christensen one, I agree with Charlie there. He hasn't really played a lot, so I can see that. Could see Chalobah. Could also see him in midfield. Could see Rudiger playing. I could see Sarr playing. I'd like to see Christensen and Chalobah. That'd be a nice pairing. I haven't seen them in a while, so that'd be nice.
Fair dues. I would personally probably pick Rudiger, so I leave it as Chalobah/Rudiger. And I'll tell you why. I would agree on Christensen. I want Chalobah to start here. Because until we have Reece James back, I think he'd be better there than Aspie, personally. Obviously, Clutch's point in mind, if he's not maybe fully fit and ready to start, I think I would rather him at right back than him at DM, because we tried that against Watford and that wasn't very good. Obviously, it's a bit harsh. And did we have it against Wolves as well for a bit when we played that 0-0 draw, but then he had to come off again? I would personally probably prefer him at right back than I would at DM. That's what I'd like to see him play. Not because I don't want Aspie, but just because it's Plymouth. I want to almost use this as a opportunity to play players in positions that they're not used to maybe get them used to it. Even though Charlie obviously made that very example for him playing DM, for me it would be a right back. Thoughts by everybody else on that? Con, I'll start with you. I'll go the other way around this time.
I wouldn't mind seeing Chalobah at right back at all, to be honest. I agree. I think he'd do a better job there than Aspie. Whether Tuchel puts him there, not too sure.
It's weird. Sorry to interrupt you. Thomas Tuchel in today's press conference said Aspilicueta is in fantastic form. I'm like, I'm not sure what's happened in the last 2 weeks, but last time I saw Aspie play, he certainly wasn't in fantastic form. But fair enough, you know. But yeah, I guess that makes it less likely that it will be Chalobah. But in our opinion, it could be. But if you then would go for Chalobah on the right, would you then pick Rudiger in the middle, or would you prefer Chalobah at centre back and then play Aspie at right back?
I'd probably rather Chalobah at right back and Rudiger at centre back. No, Sarr at centre back actually, and Lewis Hall at left back, just because of the Club World Cup. I don't want any injuries. I don't want to take any risks.
I mean, to be fair, in a way, I see it. And yeah, that's the problem with games, because we can always argue that in a way, because by that logic, we're not going to play anyone in the semi-final of the Club World Cup either. And then by the time we play the final, none of them are sharp because they haven't played yet since the bloody 3 weeks before, I suppose. So that's always how it's a problem, I guess. But it's a fair one. I can do, because we love you, Con. Who's to say I can't add 3 names? I can do that. I can do things. But yeah, Chalobah potentially at right back. I'll go back to Charlie. Chalobah at right back. Is that a shout for you? Is it too crazy for you? Would you like to go with Aspie?
No, it's not crazy. I mean, can I know this is obviously not, we're not picking what Tuchel's going to do. We're doing what we'd like to do.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I don't have a problem with it, but I can't see it happening tomorrow. I'd be surprised if that did happen. But I think, for me, if he's not going to play centre back, then I'd rather him play holding midfield, to be honest, than right back. But I mean, unless Aspie plays, we're kind of struggling for other options. I don't think Callum Hudson-Odoi is going to play there in a back 4. Or could we see Javier Simons, who we saw against Brentford, at right back potentially? I don't know. I don't know how many of the kids Tuchel's going to go with, because I thought he only went with 1 against Chesterfield. So this is a slightly better level of opposition. So we might not see Javier Simons. So I'm not sure. But for me, if it's Chalobah or Aspie, I'd probably rather have Aspie at right back and Chalobah in holding midfield.
Yeah, I see that. For me, the reason why even though I wouldn't mind Chalobah as a midfield option when we fancy needing it in a way while playing this formation, I feel like Plymouth is not good enough of an opponent for him to really be challenged in the ways that I worry about him struggling with if he did play DM, if that makes sense. So that's why I'm not sure if we get much out of playing him there against Plymouth. I mean, I guess you would in any way, but at right back, him learning to be more offensive as a right back, Plymouth would probably be a good game to learn it in a way. But I'm not sure if at DM, against Plymouth, he wouldn't really struggle at anything. So I'm not sure if you'd get much from it. But, I certainly see the logic. We might see Chalobah be named in 3 different positions here today. Clutch, I'll ask you. Chalobah, Aspie, Xavier Simons, I suppose, but the problem with Simons is obviously he's actually a midfielder, right? But he played right wing back last time, so right back is probably even less so his ideal position than right wing back was obviously that one time he played it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go with Simons. The way Tuchel was speaking, he said he was going to show them a little bit more respect by going a little bit of a stronger team. So I fully expect, for me, I'd probably pick Aspie because he's the only right back we currently have available. For me, I'm more on Charlie's side. I think if you are going to use Chalobah from the start, he's either got to play center back or he's got to play DM.
As far as
I don't know the kind of crossing he
right
has
in France a couple of times, but I'm not sure how often.
True. I just think it would be a weird. I mean, I guess if you're going to try it in any game, this would be the game to try it. To be fair, but I think it's going to be Aspie.
It's pointless a little bit at this point because Reece will be back soon, so I do hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I think we are trying to get these guys up to speed because, I mean, yes, they did have a little bit of a break, and I do think they're going to have a little bit of catching up to do, kind of like getting back into rhythm of things again real quick. So I think that this is probably the game that they're going to do that. So I do fully expect to be stronger on that side.
Fair dues. Let's do the left-hand side then. Obviously, we've had a couple of shouts so far. Just to explanation for everybody. Kennedy is very unlikely to be involved tomorrow, as far as I'm aware, simply because he wasn't training until he came back since December 6th or so, when the Brazilian season ended. Because obviously their season has a different rhythm to ours. It goes from March to November, or early December, whatever it is. So he was basically in his holiday, and he came back. So he's probably not match fit yet. And the way Thomas Tuchel spoke about him, as much as he praised him and stuff, the way I don't think he's going to be involved tomorrow. Potentially if the bench, maybe. But in terms of starting, I very much doubt it. Now, I would like Malang Sarr there simply because I want to give Sarr as many minutes as possible in a for him new position. And also I think playing against Plymouth there would allow him to explore his inner offensive left back a little bit more and make him a little bit more of a usable option for the rest of the season. Because as much as it worked in those 2 games against Tottenham, especially in the second time round, he was extremely defensive. And clearly due to instruction from the manager, in my opinion. But still, if he can just be more comfortable in that position, I'm sure he can also be more useful and more involved in at least not fully attacking in terms of going to the byline on the other side of the pitch, but in terms of at least being a bit involved and not leaving the entire left-hand side to whoever the left winger is. So therefore, I would like to see Malang Sarr here. I get starting Lewis Hall. I get it. I understand. But we've just had a 2-week break. I want us to have a good rest of the season. And I think we need to use this game to just use it. I think the fact that we have this cup game now and then the Club World Cup, it's almost like pre-season games, obviously, that matter, but in a way, it's like building up into the rest of the tough season. Like, obviously, today, then we've got tomorrow, against Plymouth. Then we've got the semi-final, which should be a very, beatable opponent. And then the final will probably be a bit more difficult against Palmeiras, especially considering both Liverpool and Bayern Munich only won their Club World Cup finals by 1 goal each over the last 2 years. But still, it's still going to be slightly lesser than the Premier League games and the Champions League and the Carabao Cup final that we've got coming up. So in a way, I kind of want to just use it to build ourselves to be as good as we possibly can be for the rest of the season. Hence why I would pick Sarr at left back. But I understand if you'd pick Lewis Hall. I just feel like if Lewis Hall isn't going to be used much for the rest of the season, almost don't waste this game on him. Like I said, I know that sounds bad, but we didn't sign someone already. Now that essentially Sarr is our left back signing, we need to give him games to be more and more comfortable in that position. Because otherwise, if at some point Tuchel decides he's not comfortable in that position, we might as well scrap the whole back 4 thing again and just accept the play back 3 with Alonso and maybe Kennedy all season. So I think Sarr needs as many games as he can get, really. Charlie, your reaction to it? Would you pick Sarr? Would you pick Lewis Hall? Would you pick, Alonso, I guess, because presumably Kennedy won't start?
I've got to be honest with you, I'll pick Lewis Hall. I thought it was fantastic when we saw him against Chesterfield. Where was the standout performer and looked comfortable at that level. Obviously, not the best level of opposition. He's been training with the first team for quite a while now, really pretty much since that game. And this is a perfect opportunity to test him against a better level of opposition to see what he's like. And we're only going to know how good he is by playing him against better opposition. So I think this would be, I get what your point is about Sarr. He's new to left back, etc. It'd be a good opportunity for him to get some more minutes there. But I think with Lewis Hall, it's quite low risk in playing him, to be honest. It's everything to gain, not much to lose, in my opinion. And I'd like to see him against a better level of opposition to see what kind of a player he is, because the early signs against Chesterfield were promising. So I'd love to see him get a run out against a slightly better level of opposition to see what he can do.
I do see that logic completely, to be fair. I didn't mean to disrespect or down talk Lewis Hall by that. It's more like I don't see him being used much for the rest of the season. So as much as I like the idea of what Charlie said, that's probably why I'd still go for Sarr. But I still think your logic makes sense. Con has informed me that he needs to shoot off in a couple of minutes. So Con, first of all, at left back, obviously you shouted Sarr for centre back and Hall for left back. So obviously explain that, but then just explain the rest of your team, so we can obviously have that in our thoughts when you have already left.
So I went to Lewis Hall. He looked good the last game we saw him, and I know Tuchel probably won't want to waste Alonso in a game like this, because he's our main left back for this season. I prefer Sarr starting in the 2. If Chalobah's going to start out wide, there's a lot of because of this player's playing here, this player's here kind of thing. I reckon Sarr's going to start in this game as that holding.
As the holding, okay.
Yeah.
When you say when you reckon, do you think that's what Tuchel's going to do, or that's what you would do as well?
I think that's what Tuchel would do.
What would you do?
What I do, probably start Jorginho, because I just love watching this guy play football, bro.
I won't put you down for you, my bro. There you go.
In midfield, probably is Loftus-Cheek fit?
Nope, he's injured. Not sure what the injury is, but he's injured.
I can see it being Barkley. I don't want it to be Barkley.
Oh. By the way, sorry, just reminded me of something. 1 second. The Turkish transfer window is still open, and Matt Lowe tweeted earlier that there is some talk with Turkish clubs for a loan for Ross Barkley for the rest of the season, but nothing's agreed yet, and there is every chance he still stays at Chelsea. So I'm not sure if that sways your opinion about whether you would start and whether you think he'll start or not, but just thought I'd throw it in there because you reminded me. Go on.
with that said, we want to protect this guy, put him in clean form, whatever we have to do, put him in cotton wool, like keep this guy fit. If we can get him gone, we can. So who can we put in there? We could put in Mount so he can get some fitness. I'd like to see him in midfield. Who would we partner Mount next to? Don't really want to see Cover or Kante play this game, personally. But I think Cover might play in this game too. And my front three would probably be Ferner on the left, Kai in the middle, and probably Ziyech on the right.
I should not mute myself while I'm moving around things here on the screen because then I can't talk and move things. Fair enough. It's an interesting one. You would pick Werner over Callum, yeah?
Yeah, just because I see like Callum's more of the guy who's got that position locked down for now. So I reckon Werner gets some minutes in this game.
That'll be a tough game for Werner, especially if he has Saar behind him. If it's Hall, maybe less so. But if it's Saar behind him, he has a lot of running to do on that left wing.
So he's best at, bro.
There you go. Con, appreciate you very much for joining us, sharing your wonderful verified expertise. Have fun at your family dinner. Chat to you soon, bro.
Thank you, bro. Take care, lads. Enjoy the rest of the stream.
Cheers, mate.
Later.
Take care, boys. Cheers. So, okay, I would... there it is. There it is. I was trying to remove Con so he can leave in peace, but it wouldn't let me. Anyways, we've sorted the left-back situation insofar that we have... Have I asked both of you? Have I asked you yet, Clutch, about left-back? No, I haven't, have I?
No, you haven't.
Thank you for reminding me. So, would you pick Lewis Hall or would you pick Malang Sarr?
I would like Lewis Hall, but I think I'm going to pick Sarr. I like I said earlier, I think this is going to be a game where we're going to try to get the guys back up to speed for things. I mean, we're going to have, 5 subs tomorrow, right?
Yes.
So I fully expect a lot of these guys to come on. I don't think we're going to sit here and probably try to experiment too much. I think the only maybe experiment is maybe Jorginho for Saul, maybe. But I probably fully expect Jorginho to start. I would almost be surprised if Malang Sarr doesn't start. I mean, he's had quite a good run of games. I think they're going to let him keep going, get him back up to speed, so that way he's ready for. And maybe if we're up comfortably, we see Lewis Hall come in 45th minute or whatever, second half. We'll see.
Yeah,
but Actually, if you're asking me who I think will probably end up starting, it's probably going to end up being Alonso. Just for whatever reason.
I'm not asking you who you think ends up starting because that's just depressing. Yeah, but fair enough. Then, hey, why not? We're already on the road of doing / this guy, so might as well continue with / this guy. Midfield. Obviously, now personally, I would rather Chalobah, like obviously Charlie suggested earlier, than I would Saul here. But I'll ask you, would you now call for that Chalobah here, Charlie?
Yes, potentially. I think at times Jorginho is a little bit exposed in a single 6 position, but I mean against Plymouth, he's got more than enough quality to do that job against a better level of opposition. I'm not
you
so
always
sure yet.
Remember that whoever plays here, let's say Kovacic, can always drop to make it a 2-way.
Yeah,
so
of course. There's fluidity within that system to drop into a double 6 when defending potentially. If you're asking, I think Jorginho will play, but I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Trevor Chalobah there. But I mean, I don't think Mount's going to play, to be honest, tomorrow. I feel that Sao Niguez will probably get a run out. There's not really a reason
instead of Mount though, or you think more instead of Cover?
I don't know. It's a tough one. I equally wouldn't be surprised if he's played in a holding position either. I wouldn't. It's quite difficult.
I'll give you another / if you want.
Yeah, we might as well, mate. We might as well just put the whole squad on the screen at this rate.
Just put Saul for / every position.
Yeah. If it's me, I'm going. I'd like to see Chalobah play and hold in midfield. And then with the other 2 positions, I don't think we need to Kovacic is a necessity. He could play a half. I think they'll both play some part in the game. I'll probably start with Saunaghez and probably leave Mount in there as well.
There you go. That's fair. For me, it's weird because obviously talking so much about, we could play that guy, we could play that guy. If we were to use this game to like give players minutes that haven't really had them, then I would probably agree. Chalobah, obviously, I would prefer him at right back, but if he's not a right back, then play him in midfield for sure. Give it a go. Why not? I would play Saul here. I might then personally even play Kai Havertz here because I think Kai can play that. Because seemingly he's not going to play instead of Lukaku in most games. So, and I don't want him to sit on the bench every fucking game. So we need to find him a new position. So then maybe use this to play him there potentially. But for me, I'd still kind of want to use it to like get the best out of things and like kickstart not our season, but more like, make sure everybody's match sharp and match ready. Use the Plymouth game to get everybody match sharp, match ready for the Club World Cup and for the games after that. I mean, as much as I like Tool, I leave it there obviously for what Charlie said, but for me, I would probably, I might play Mount over there and just play Kai over there just for the banter against Plymouth. I don't know.
Well, there's not much defensive. There's not much defensive work in that too, though, is there?
No. I think Mount. If Mount gets told to do the defensive work, he will. It's just whether Mount is told to do it or not.
Yeah.
But I still think like I really like Kai Havertz. I mean, the guy won us the fucking Champions League. I think it's outrageous that I think we need to find a way. Like it pisses me off that we're finding ways to make Lukaku work, but we're not finding ways to, or we're trying to find at least because so far it hasn't worked. It pisses me off that we are trying to find ways to make Lukaku work, but we're not trying, seemingly at least, trying to find ways to make Kai Havertz work, because I like Kai Havertz much more than I like Lukaku. So I just want that to be tried. But if I mean, like, yeah, I don't really know. Like someone said earlier, make sure that they're fit, no risk of injuries. I see that logic in a way too. Clutch, help me out, bro. What's your midfield three?
Jorginho as the DM. Mount is definitely going to be in one of those 8 spots. Do I risk Kovacic? I'm actually going to rest Kovacic. I think he needs a rest. Conte doesn't see the light of day in this game. I think Saul should come off the bench.
Yeah.
I don't want him to.
No, I don't want him to either, but he will. Well, let's be honest.
You know what? We're going to do this. Nah, I'm just going to go with Mount and Kovacic because I think Mount and Ziyech were really good linking up together, so I kind of want them to be on that same side.
But that's also why I think that Havertz Ziyech could link up super well in these two positions. That's also why I would kind of love to try Havertz in this role, in a way. But yeah, it's a tough one. I'll just leave it like that on screen now. But I do have to say, I will have to heavily outvote Mr. Con here. Timo Werner is, if it's down to me, not seeing any game time. So, yeah, I'm picking Hudson-Odoi there. Charlie, what do you reckon?
I mean, I would personally pick Callum as well. But I think, Werner will play in this game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him start. I know.
But do you think he will play in this game if we play this formation? Because I don't. I don't think Werner will play a proper left winger.
No, it's a tough one because I think Tuchel has said that he has managed Werner and Havertz very carefully, since they had COVID. So. They haven't played a lot of minutes at all, and this would seem like a good opportunity for them to get some minutes. But I agree with you. I don't think Werner's an actual out-and-out left winger. So in this system, as we've got it up on screen and what we're going with, I'm not sure if he plays left wing for me. So yeah, I'll be picking Callum.
There you go. And for you, Clutch, would you go for Callum as well?
Yes, I'm going for Callum.
Well, if it is the 3v1. Unfortunately, Werner loses his little spot of writing. So we will just write down Callum Hudson-Odoi. Sorry, Con, but that's what happens when you leave, Ali. Do we all agree on Hakim Ziyech down on the other side? Clutch, you kind of hinted on it already.
Yeah, I think he's one guy. I mean, I need to keep up that mentality that he has. Because far too many times do we have him have good performances. I mean, but I think that was probably his best performance for us. And then we see a drop off. We see that lack of consistency or lack of care, whatever it seems to be. I think we need to keep that up until we see that drop in form again. I think that's his position until that time. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Hopefully we get the consistent Hakim Ziyech, because I think he's one of the more dangerous players we have when he's in good form, when he's happy, and when he's playing like he did against Tottenham.
Yeah, I agree. I would play Ziyech there as well. And Pedro in the chat saying Kennedy on the left wing. Now, first of all, he will definitely never play on the wing for us, because attackers is the only position where we don't have not enough players. But also, like obviously I touched on a minute ago, but might not have been here yet. Kennedy is seemingly not ready to play yet because he's came back from his holiday and needs some time to get fit, essentially. But Charlie, would you agree with Hakim Ziyech on the right-hand side? I guess on the right-hand side, we don't really have that many other options if Pulisic isn't available. Because in terms of, if we're talking proper right wingers rather than our 3-4-3 wingers, where you then can debate, obviously, Mason Mount there, you can debate Kai Havertz there, you can debate, obviously, Pulisic went fit there, but, we can talk about a few players over there then, but when it's a proper right winger and we don't have Pulisic available, it's probably just these two, is it not?
Yeah, and I think, Ziyech is one of those players that needs consistent game time, particularly when he's playing well. If he's in a good run of form, we just need to keep playing him. And at the moment, he's been cooking in the last few games. I think his best game for us was against Tottenham last time out. And we just need to try and keep that momentum rolling with him. So, we need to keep him interested, keep him happy. And I think, he would have been one of the names that probably in the summer would have been looking to move on. But if we go with a 4-3-3 or a back four next season, I think it dramatically increases his chances of staying and increasing our chances of seeing the player that we saw at Ajax, which was pretty decent. So for me, whilst he's in good form, he has to play. So I'd be picking him again tomorrow.
No, I agree. And as for up top, as much as I'm not a fan of Lukaku these days, reason why it's in the title and the thumbnail, our forwards need to become reliable. They just absolutely have to, because we rely on our defenders way too much. Like, we can debate, like, the reason why our results haven't been as good as of late hasn't really been just the forwards, because the forwards have been kind of shit all the time. The reason is just that our defenders weren't quite as impeccably amazing anymore and usually started conceding one goal per game. And because our forwards never score more than 1 or 2 per game, we got way too many 1-1 draws. So essentially what that means is we can't expect our defenders to be absolutely perfect every game. We just need to start having some forwards that do something positive, like Ziyech did against Spurs. So for me, Ziyech and Lukaku went on holiday together. There's some hope in me that while they were sat there on the little balcony where they posted an Instagram picture while playing Uno, on their Uno cards, they had like tactical instructions to each other, telling each other how do we play better together. So play them together. Like, obviously, Lukaku scraped a goal last time against Chesterfield. Maybe he'll do a bit better against Plymouth, because you can't do it against good teams these days. So, we need to give him every hope he can get to get a goal. So for me, he needs to play, because there's no chance he scores against good teams. So we need to play him against bad teams. No offense, Plymouth. So for me, that's why it's Lukaku. Even without taking the piss, it's Lukaku, just because I'm like, if we're playing 4-3-3, I don't want Kai Havertz as a striker. Which is why I don't think we'll play 4-3-3 all season, because that means we essentially only have one striker, because they want Timo Werner as a lone striker in a 3. No. They want Kai Havertz as a lone striker in a 4-3-3 because everybody else is quite far away from him. Probably not, but he can still do a job, I reckon. So just make Lukaku work. Hopefully this 2-week break, giving him a warm-up kit that looks like Inter, maybe all of these things help. So that's why I'd go Lukaku. But Charlie, what about you? Would you go
so I'm
Lukaku?
just going to say a quick thing, mate. Just checking Twitter. Adam Newson's tweeted out that Lewis Hall and Harvey Vale, they're both involved in the development squad match tonight. So potentially, I know we've not mentioned Harvey Vale, but Lewis Hall is in the development squad. So I think he's definitely in the squad. I haven't seen the lineup, but in a game tomorrow, if he's featuring in that game tonight, is he going to be involved from the off tomorrow? That would suggest perhaps not. Even though he has trained with the first team this week and has done a lot of training with the first team. That news that if he plays, I'd be surprised if he starts the development game, and then the FA Cup game the next day or the next
I
lunchtime.
don't
It's not
even
even
think
like
that's allowed, to be honest.
so I would expect him to perhaps be on the bench, having seen that news.
Yeah. Well, do you expect him on the bench? I don't even expect him to be in the squad now. If he plays tonight, I don't even think they'll be in the squad tomorrow.
I don't know. I think with 5 subs, if it's going well, like if we're 3-4 goals up, I don't see why not. But yeah, I'd be
just
very.
It's a late game because they haven't played yet, and we'll play early kickoff tomorrow. By the time they're done tonight, it's like 1 a.m.
Yeah,
and then we'll play tomorrow at 12:30.
I think I'd agree with you in that sense that if you were going to be involved in the squad for the game tomorrow, you wouldn't be playing tonight in a development match.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And I presume they wouldn't be on the bench in the for the development squad if they weren't intended to be played, because otherwise, what's the point in having them?
Yeah, fair point.
So, unfortunately, probably have to take him out. It's a bit of a shame, and maybe we should have mentioned Harvey Vale as a potential other player instead of Callum or Ziyech, but now we've heard that. Fair enough. I guess it makes the unfortunate reality of potentially Alonso playing here bigger, but I still have hope that Thomas Tuchel knows that Alonso shouldn't be playing in the back four. I mean, arguably Alonso shouldn't be playing in any game, but definitely not in a back four at least. But cheers for that, by the way, Charlie. I didn't actually see it. I need to turn my tweet notifications on for Adam Newson. But in terms of up top, Lukaku for you as well, Charlie?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think what we need up front is continuity. We've had a lot of changes in the front three over the course of the season, some enforced, some just, and a majority of them just through complete lack of form from anyone who just tried to find different combinations. But I think we've kind of stumbled across something at the moment, which in the last couple of games has done all right. And I think we just need to stick with a consistent front three for a while and see what happens. And I think we're going to have to take the approach now that we just need to play guys into form. Rather than constantly chopping and changing. And, as much as I like Kai Havertz to play more football, ultimately, I think Lukaku is going to play the majority of the game. So I think tomorrow is another opportunity for him to try and get some confidence, get some goals in him before going off to the Club World Cup. So, yeah, I think he's going to play again tomorrow. He probably won't play the full 90, but he'll definitely play at least 45 or 60 minutes for me tomorrow.
I'd say so. Before I go to Clutch about this striker position, let me just quickly go to a man called HM. It's just missing the end, and you'll be a close shop. But what I don't really appreciate, what I really don't like about people is when they say statements as if they're factual, but they actually have no idea. Like, HM, a bit of a newsflash for you, lads. 3 things. Number 1, Trevor Chalobah played DM for Lorient in Ligue 1 last season on a number of occasions. Number 2, Trevor Chalobah has played DM for Chelsea on 2 occasions already this season. 1 at Watford at the start of the second half until he got injured, and then 2 at Wolves until he got injured. I think he got injured in both games, which is a bit unfortunate. So maybe it's a bad omen for him to play in DM for us, you could argue, because he got injured both times he did. But he's literally played it twice for us and on loan last season. So for you to give him offer like that when you have clearly no idea, just find out what you're talking about a bit first, But anyway, I didn't want to be too harsh. Clutch, Lukaku up top for you or Havertz, I suppose?
I would prefer to start Havertz. I think he deserves a run out. Like I said with Pulisic, I mean, a couple games ago, like Havertz has not gotten any time. I think.
Do you think Havertz is a big would work in it, or would be great in this 4-3-3, 4-1-4-1? Do you think that's his best? That gets the best out of him, because that's why I didn't even name him for there, because I think that's the system the furthest away from what gets the best out of him in that role, because it means everyone's quite far away from the wingers are quite wide, the midfielders are proper midfielders, like no one's close to him. So I'm like, then that means so much striker type work for him, which he's not. That's why I didn't mention it. But hey, if you want to go for it, fair enough. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm just asking if you still see it that way.
See, that's kind of the hard thing with Havertz is we don't know we know what he says his position is, but we don't know what his actual position is. What I like to see him more at that 8, I mean, we've discussed this multiple times on WhatsApp. I think he could play that position. He backs himself as a number 10. I don't think he's quite creative enough to be a number 10. So, I mean, I think for us, the best he's looked has been up top. Yes, in a slightly different system. Yes, there's more wing backs and more ability to roam, but I think you still give him that ability to roam while he's up top. Does Lukaku fit the system a little bit better? Yes, 100%. Nobody can deny that. But I think we're hurting.
Go on. You go first.
I think what we're doing is we're hurting both of them more than we're helping either of them. Lukaku playing worse every game is not helping. He needs to find himself on the bench. He needs to find that, hey, I'm not safe in my position right now, so I need to look at how I kind of approach the games. Havertz needs time to actually show that he deserves a chance to play. I mean, I don't think Tuchel will play him in any other position other than that. And I think if we are going to give him a run out, it needs to be somewhere he can be effective. I do think he can be effective up there, especially if you have Mount and Ziyech and Callum, who all are creative in their own rights and can do that position justice for him. I think he could do it fine. But if you're asking me if I think Tuchel will do it, no, I think we are going to see Lukaku tomorrow.
Okay. Now, for me, it's not necessarily the freedom to roam that's the reason. For me, it's just the fact that the wingers in our 4-3-3, because of the wing backs that you mentioned, the wing backs are the people that provide the width. So that means our wingers comes close, meaning there can be easy rotation between all three forwards. But when you play this and you have two out-and-out wingers, then the striker can never move away from striker. He can roam left, right, regardless, but he can't switch position. And he can do that when it's a 3 and a 4-3-3. So that's why I don't think then it works for him, because then he's so stuck to that he can't even really make use of his best attribute when playing in that role, which is his movement, because his movement is automatically limited by the fact that he doesn't have players to switch with. But I do unfortunately agree that I'm not sure if Tuchel will play him in an 8. But then again, who knows? It's a tough one. Also, one other piece of logic for Lukaku is now we've had 2 weeks off. I'd rather give him the chance against Plymouth, and if he fucks it up again, 6th or 7th game in a row where he's awful after his interview, was released at least, then he doesn't play in the Club World Cup. I don't think he should even get to play in the Club. To be honest, I would argue Lukaku shouldn't play in the Club World Cup in the first place, because he didn't get us to the Club World Cup. Kai did. Without Kai, we quite literally wouldn't be in a Club World Cup. Lukaku turned up after and gave it the big one in an interview. So if anything, Lukaku shouldn't even travel to Abu Dhabi, if you're being totally honest about it, just because he had nothing to do with it. But hey, fair dues. Let's write down both. And let's finish the stream off, I would say. Let's do it slowly but surely with a little score prediction. Obviously, it's Plymouth Argyle. They will probably go for it. I mean, Ilya said here, I've had some man up top in a 4-2-2. We could do. Unfortunately, the thing is, Mount was certainly much better in this system than he was in a 4-2-2. He seemed a bit lost in the 2-2 ad wide. But we'll see what Tuchel picks tomorrow, I guess. But Charlie, let me go to you. Score prediction for tomorrow.
I think fairly straightforward, to be honest. I'm probably not expecting 5 goals like against Chesterfield. Should be a slightly better level of opposition, but I think we need to be putting at least 3 or 4 past these, putting in a bit of a decent performance, shaking that rust off for not playing for a couple of weeks, and head into the Club World Cup on a little bit of a high. So I'm going to go with a 4-1.
4-1. There you go. It's quite an interesting one. 4-1. Even though we play, do you think it will be as strong a team as we had up now, or do you think it will be a slightly weaker team? If we're now talking about what will Tuchel pick?
No, I think pretty strong, because against Chesterfield, wasn't expecting to see half as many our top players starting. This is a level up in opposition. You treat it with respect, so I'd expect at least as strong a lineup in this game, to be honest.
True. But then I would hope we don't concede, but fair enough. If 4-1 is your score prediction, no worries, obviously. Clutch, what about you? 4-1 is what Charlie said. What would you go with?
My heart's telling me 2-0, but my head is going to say 3-0. I mean, Tuchel said he's going to go with the stronger team. He said he's going to give them respect and send out a strong team against them. So I do expect us to win comfortably, and I don't see them scoring on us. I mean, maybe, but I very, very, very doubt it.
Maybe what?
I very doubt it.
There you go. I mean, I'll even go 4-0, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, yeah, Plymouth is fourth, third division, but I don't know. We could have easily scored 10 against Chesterfield. It's just like we didn't. It's not like 5 was the best we could do. So I 2 weeks off, I would hope the players are like rejuvenated, refreshed. Why not go slap some people up? So, I'll say 4-0, hoping for more. But at the end of the day, we're going to leave it at that. We're going to see you again very, very soon this time, ladies and gentlemen, because the game literally starts in like, can't be bothered to count how many hours, but 12:30, midday tomorrow. So, we'll see you very, very soon for the player ratings live stream after said game. I'm not 1,000,000% sure who exactly is going to be on. I'm pretty sure Clutch is. Let's see how Pice is doing tomorrow. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round it out here. If you haven't already, though, please be sure to subscribe. We're still on the road to 15,000 subscribers. We're past 13K, but let's get to 15K. So every single new subscriber counts. Hit that big red subscribe button for me. Check out Charlie's channel, to which the link is down in the description. The Blues Brothers, as always. Of course, check out Clutch on Twitter as well. And check out Con on Twitter as well. Big shout out to him for turning up earlier as well. Smash the like button for me if you haven't just yet. Doesn't cost you any money. Doesn't cost you any time. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea. Upwards and onwards. And I'll see you next time.